What has your read been on how the arraignment of former President Trump has driven traffic to those more conservative social platforms?
Well, we don't have any numbers on that have been updated since last year when we published this data. But what we have seen reported elsewhere, including the New York Times, is that there has been increased traffic to Truth Social since the news of the indictment came out.
The impact of these more right-leaning social media offerings that we saw all at once sort of come to an already crowded space. Your report in October not only highlighted Truth Social, but you went into BitChute, Gab, Getter, Parler, Rumble, Telegram. How prevalent is the use, or was the use, back in that report of October 2022? And are they impactful in terms of where people get their news?
So 6% use any of the 7 social media sites that we were looking at as of May 2022, including Truth Social. Truth Social was used by 2% of U.S. adults. And this was after just 3 months of it actually being released to the public. So it was released to the public in February of 2022. And we conducted this survey in May of 2022. And what we found was that people actually believe that they are being informed when they use these sites. 56% of the users of any of these sites say that staying informed is a major reason to use them. Most of what the news that they're getting there is government and politics news, according to these users. And about half of them are saying that they are seeing news there that they wouldn't see somewhere else. So these are becoming crucial parts of the media diet for many Americans.
When you say many, though, put it into context versus Facebook versus Twitter.
Sure. We found 2% used Truth Social as a source for news. That is, of course, much lower than many other platforms. 31% as of summer of 2002 used Facebook for news, 25% used YouTube, and then Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were all in the teens.
And what's interesting, Ed, is how important some of these mainstays, the Facebooks, the Twitters, were for President Trump in his previous election campaigns.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Galen, Caroline and I have been tracking the reinstatement of former President Trump to platforms like Twitter and Meta. In that arraignment proceedings, the judge cited irresponsible social media posts. What is the concern to your mind from the judge about those posts?
Well, I can't speak to anything, any concerns the judge in particular might have had. But what I can point you to is how much he's actually using these other platforms just since he's been reinstated. He was reinstated on Twitter, I think, a few months ago now. He has not tweeted since then. Reinstated on YouTube a couple of weeks ago. He has posted 1 video. And on Facebook, he and his campaign is using that platform. In fact, last night when he gave his speech at Mar-a-Lago, links to that speech were posted on Truth Social and on Facebook and on Rumble, but not to any of those other 2 platforms. We don't know what he will do in the future, but it is clear that he has been using Truth Social quite frequently to express his views.
I guess that, the point Caroline and I pointing out was that social media was the modus operandi by which Trump, not the only one, but by which Trump communicated with his base, right? He's not on Twitter or Facebook, but do you see the messaging that he's putting on Truth Social permeate those platforms?
So when we looked in May of 2022 at these platforms, one of the things that we looked at was what is happening outside of just Donald Trump on Truth Social. We wanted to see what other kinds of accounts were saying and what they were doing and how they were presenting themselves. So we looked at 200 of the most followed accounts on Truth Social in June of 2022. And one of the things we looked at was their profile photos, their banners, their whole profile page. How are they presenting themselves? And we found that about half of them were outright saying that they were conservative or Republican or pro-Trump. So they're projecting this air of right-leaning attitude on the platform itself. Others were projecting a religious identity, a message of patriotism. And when we connected that back to the survey, we found that people tended to say that they had found a sense of community on the sites that they were using, looking more broadly at all these sites, to the point that 65% of users of any of these sites said that they had found a community of people who shared their views on those platforms.
Because Truth Social says it's non-partisan, and that, of course, it's all about free speech. Is it doing that? Is it non-partisan? Is it allowing free speech?
So it's difficult to do a full summary of everything that Truth Social does or doesn't do. It does, as you mentioned, say that it is a nonpartisan site. There have been reports of Truth Social banning users or banning posts that have partisan messages that that people disagree with. But it's difficult to tell the extent to which this is happening overall.